Step in the box, sports cards fans. Welcome back to another episode of Batter Up with Brett and John. What's happening, John?
I am doing well on this Wednesday night. We are a day earlier than normal, but we have a very special guest with us tonight. T-Pott, Tyler Nethercott from Sports Card Investor and Market Movers. He's a fan of Brett's channel. He's been following Brett since Brett had about 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Brett, I think the story is you made a comment on Brett's video. Brett sent that comment to me and said, "Can you believe T-Pott watches my channel?" And I said, are you sure it's the right guy? And so when I introduced myself to you at this year's National, I said, "Was it indeed you?" And you said, "Yes, I love his content." I said, well, we'll see where that takes us. And then we started a Batter Up segment. One thing led to another, and here you are. So tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods.
Well, I'm a big hobby content consumer, as they say, probably too much to my wife's chagrin. But I'm always, checking who's live, who's doing what. And a lot of times if I'm working at night or sorting cards or doing whatever, folding laundry, if somebody's live, that's a good time to listen and just sort of chime in and chat. But I'm pretty sure I saw Brett. I mean, I don't remember if I was already subscribed or if it was that big, massive Wander Franco hit that I was like how I found your channel or something. But yeah, I think I was probably just like searching on YouTube for tops, just looking for box breaks of new product in the first edition, and came across it, and I was just like, holy cow, I can't believe this guy hit this card and had it on camera, because it just seems like the only people who ever have that type of a hit happen are breakers, and you don't know who the card's actually going to. So then obviously I jumped in for the live stream when you had it on Golden, and just a very cool thing. But yeah, we're new year. Last year was a really, I call it up and down, year for the sports card hobby overall. There was, I think, a lot of good things, a lot of really big positives. We saw grading reopen. We saw those costs come down. We've seen, marketplaces kind of tighten things up with, ulterior or alternative marketplaces. A lot of hobby drama, a lot of, the prices going down, which if you're a collector, you don't, you're not complaining about that necessarily. So I think some price normalization, obviously that's a big part of what I'm looking at regularly, is with our data tool, going back, looking at prices compared to 2019, 2020, and take that chunk of like a year from the second half of 2020 and the first half of 2021 out. And we're kind of just on this very like steady growth trajectory, which I think is overall good. And there's a lot of new people in the hobby. There's just, every time I go to a card show or a card shop or anywhere, a lot of really good energy, a lot of fun stuff happening. And I don't rip a lot of wax. I buy more singles. I really like ripping wax. I always end up not sorting my cards like you break down, Brett, and how to sort these and I just got done spending 10-hour grind sorting 5 million cards. And I'm like, oh man, like that is the grind. So kudos to you. And I do enjoy those videos where you kind of break down how you sort everything out and sell it. But it's been really good. Overall, things are good at Sports Card Investor. We're still experiencing growth. We've got a new version of our mobile app coming out next week, and we're really excited about that. That's been kind of like a weak spot for the app. So that'll be out next week, and that's going to be a really big improvement. And just enjoying doing content. We're going to be going to a lot of shows. We'll be at Culture Collision in Atlanta here at the end of January. We're going to Burbank. I'll be at the Mint Collective. So a lot of travel, a lot of different stuff coming up over the next few months. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That sounds awesome. I think most people probably know you from the videos and Sports Card Investor, but tell us a little bit like your role that you put your hat on of what you do on a daily basis.
I'll just replay it's been about 2.5 years now. A little more than that if you consider like the part-time work I was doing for Jeff. But I got back into the hobby in 2019, was a childhood collector, and really loved it when I was a kid, and just still had all my cards. Briefly got back into it 08, 09, and then just was a broke college graduate and was like, I don't have money for this. I got to get into the real world. And pulled my cards out when I was getting ready to move to a new house in 2019 and started paging through my binders and looking at all my old Penny Hardaway cards. And my wife was like, "What are you doing? We got work to do. You know, we gotta pack these boxes." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll come back to this." But I was like many people, whenever they got back into the hobby in the last few years, kind of going like, how do I figure out what these are worth? Looking for Beckett price guides, you know, trying to figure things out. And I came across Jeff's channel right when he started it. I mean, I was probably one of the first 100, if not 50 subscribers to his channel, and started following it. And then he started the Discord, which now has like 35,000 people or something crazy. And it's like a big, huge sports card Discord. And I got in there as a moderator. And then I messaged Jeff in December of 2019, kind of asking about whether he was planning on doing any software development pricing tool related to, because he's got software engineers and a digital marketing company. And he was already working on market movers. So he pulled me in for beta testing shortly after that. And the product launched in February of 2020. I started kind of moonlighting, doing part-time work, helping him build the database up, adding cards to the database, doing ongoing testing. And then in May of 2020, I got let go in a huge layoff because of the COVID impact to the company I'd been working for 9 years. And Jeff had offered me a full-time job, a great job. And I came in, started working as like a product owner for the development of the app. And as the company grew, eventually got promoted. So now I'm our VP of product development, and I get to do content. I get to still lead and be very engaged with our development teams and our product manager and our marketing efforts, and go to shows. And it's a lot of fun. It's very weird. I never planned on being on YouTube or doing any content or anything like that. And it's been really fun.
That is awesome. So I was going to ask a couple questions about I think it's the Market Movers channel that you kind of are the head of, other than the SCI side of it. A couple questions, probably two primary questions. So one of the things I like about the content, you do kind of like a weekly show. It's almost like storytelling in a way, which I find very intriguing. A lot of times, like a simple topic, we're just going to talk about this topic. And kind of expand upon it, cover a couple angles. But I love the storytelling element and kind of how you bring it into things that are relatable to others. I think that's what kind of draws me to watch that content quite regularly. But one thing I was always curious of, is it always one take? Do you get it in one take, or do you got to do multiple takes because you screw up a line or something?
It's typically one take at this point, believe it or not. What I do is I type up a little script beforehand, and we do have a prompter now. For the longest time, I didn't have when I was recording in Michigan. I didn't have a prompter. I was just kind of on the fly speaking. But what I do is I type up a lot of notes just to organize my thoughts. And then, I obviously I don't want to meander. I want to have like a very structured, like walkthrough and try to use the time wisely. But the body of the show tends to be just me talking. Like, it's not scripted. It's just, here, okay, what do I want to say in the intro? And I try to just get through it and get into the meat of it. And obviously we promote, Market Movers. And if you want to sign up, use Market Movers, go to this channel. But yeah, there's really like, I cover a lot of different topics, and I kind of say there's some different overarching things. One is just like regular market updates, what's been going on recently with the hobby as a whole. We use our market index, market pulse data for that, to kind of look at a macro level and then zoom into specific cards and players. I like to do a lot of attempts to kind of forecast what might happen in specific sports, especially right before the season starts, and then like mid-season and post-season, right? Like kind of like chunking them out. I know some sports better than others. I do follow a lot of different sports, but I especially know basketball, baseball, football really well. I dabble a little bit with soccer and hockey. And then I like to, if I have time and I'm not swamped with other things, sometimes I have these ideas for like more philosophical kind of big picture type stuff. And I did a video earlier this year on like what a recession means for the hobby. And that was one of my more well-received videos. I really love giving shout outs to other collectors, other content creators, other people on Instagram. And then sometimes you'll see me do like, would you rather comparisons, or like, kind of like, this just doesn't make sense. And sometimes when you see the price of Ellie De La Cruz card going for like 5 times more than the price of like a Todd Helton card or some Hall of Famer or future Hall of Famer, you're just like, this is like my, and I don't like to tell people what to do, because I really am. I really do believe the hobby is what it is. It's highly complicated and there's a lot for everybody. I did a video on why I don't do Bowman prospecting, and it's mostly because I don't know the prospects. I have so many other interests. I don't follow it, but that one got people pretty riled up. The Bowman boys came out, as you've got your wall of Bowman behind you.
They're hardcore.
The Bowman boys came out in swarms, like, you're a clown. You don't know what you're talking about. But
John didn't get to his video, but he's been ranting on the Purdy autos. There, give him your rant, John.
I can't stand that one at all. I keep comparing him to, like, you could buy a Steph Curry auto. I know it's a sticker auto, but let's be honest. Brock Purdy's autos right now are only sticker. They're in mosaic. You're paying more for a Brock Purdy auto number to 25 than you are Steph Curry.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Doesn't make a lot of sense. We have our sports card investor app, right? Which is our free app. And this app, whoops, I'll go this way. What it does is it has this ranking, and the ranking is basically just a combination of price growth and sales volume growth. So cards that are moving and cards that are going up in price. And it's just a, algorithm. And for the longest time, as I scrolled in here, I mean, you see a lot of Luka and Zion right now, and Donovan Mitchell, who just dropped 70 and 71 and 11. What is it? But for like 2 weeks, it was just Brock Purdy. And he only had like 4 cards, in our database, but it was like Brock Purdy, probably like, oh, come on. So,
he's off to a really good start for a fill-in guy.
Yeah.
Most rookies don't even have those sorts of stats, but I watched the Raiders game. I don't want to spend too much time on that in this video, but I just say this. You probably need more games to figure out what this guy really is, and people are going to start to figure him out. Yeah. The Raiders were close to figuring him out, and it was like, okay, then what? So yeah, it's like baseball in a way. You mentioned Bowman prospects. Guys go into the league, they go into the majors, they go in a hot streak because they don't know how to pitch to him, right? There's not a lot of scouting material. There's no video of like, how do you play this guy? What are his tendencies? What are his weaknesses? Mm-hmm. A good pro compensates for that over time, gets coached on it correctly. A bad pro or an average pro would eventually the guy gets figured out and then he peters out. So we'll see. The jury's out on Brock Purdy. The Niners have a great running game. They've got a great defense. That's going to take him a long way, regardless of whether he was quarterback or not. So,
for everybody that's watching now or later, if you don't have the Sports Card Investor app on your phone, you're missing out, man. I look at it on a daily basis, and I love scrolling through. And lots of times I'll just flip to baseball and look to see who's trending. Yeah. It's pretty crazy how things. I love it. I've been a fan since day one. I was just looking today. I was surprised. I was like, I remember catching on to your guys' YouTube channel pretty early, and I was like, man, May of 2019, and over 200K subscribers. You guys are cruising. What's some of your favorite content that you remember doing? Like, it looks like you guys have a lot of fun as a group. Just, whether it's at events or box openings in the office, it seems like it's a fun group. What's some of your favorite stuff to do?
Gosh, there's so much to kind of rewind the tape on, but we work really hard. And that's the piece that, I think some people just think you work in the hobby. Like it must just be pure play all the time. Right. And I know there are a lot of people who maybe feel that way about their careers, and working in software development is like sometimes like working with the devil. And I work in it. I'm not saying that to demean it, but technology, everybody said in their lives, like, oh, technology, like you love it and you hate it, right? When you work in software development, it's it's always, and Jeff says this a lot, it's like entrepreneurship, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward. It's like, you're really excited. You get this, you test this feature like crazy, you get it deployed and out to the people, and then like something breaks and you're just like, it's just constantly this battle. So that's the part that's like, you got to love what you're doing and love delivering value to the end user and trying to bring new technological value to the hobby and to the industry you're serving. That's the part that can be it can be stressful, but it is very rewarding. The fun stuff is everything else. And I really enjoy making the content, and I really like going to my favorite thing is just to go to shows and interact with everybody. It can be easy sometimes to get caught up in the comments and feel there's always just some negativity from people. Like, I joke that in fact, we have done this. I joke that we could just give away thousands of dollars of prizes with no strings attached, no nothing, and people will like criticize us for it. And that has happened multiple times now. So that's sort of like the nature. When you go to the shows, it is just in person, it's positive vibes, right? It's just positive energy. So many awesome conversations. I've met so many cool, different people with awesome collections, awesome interests in all kinds of different sports. This summer, I was really starting to dive more into vintage and just try to understand it. And I work very closely with our director of data in trying to build out our database and have all kinds of different cards and non-sports cards now. And I felt like that was kind of a blind spot for me. So as I went down that rabbit hole, I got really into it. And this guy was educating me at the National this summer on all this vintage soccer. And it just blew my mind, like where these cards come from, regional specific to Venezuela. Like, this one was here, and this guy, had his like left hand blown off in a war and just kept playing soccer, just so many crazy stories. Going to the National is always a ton of fun. Trade nights are a lot of fun. I've been to Dallas, and that was a lot of fun, and just the little pop-up organic trade nights that happen. Some of the best memories for sure, just getting to rip some of the 1990s basketball boxes that we did. I'm a 90s kid, and I collected basketball almost exclusively in the 90s. So getting to open, Fleer Metal, 97 Fleer Metal, and getting to open, Z-Force Series 1 and Series 2. Like, these are like, they're not cheap boxes now. It was like Jeff's kind of gift to the team when we got together and connected. And we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of team outings. We've got everybody flying into Atlanta at the end of this month for Culture Collision and some strategy meetings. So it's definitely a work hard, play hard type of thing. And it's a grind. I put in a lot of hours because I'm really passionate about it, and I'm very committed to trying to fulfill our mission as a company.
That's and very well said about the grind, and that was that kind of leads me to another question. So when I first met you was at the National, and I introduced myself. I think it was at trade night, which I'd never been to that trade night before, had no idea what to actually do, and I didn't make a trade. I think we didn't stick around that long, so we'll figure it out eventually. We'll hopefully do a trade night at the next National. There you go. Do it much better next time. But for a new channel like mine, who's been around like 6 months, and when I first started, I was not really sure what direction to take the channel. It's a variety channel. I won't go into too much detail, but starting when I met you, I think I was at 30 subscribers, and I've grown a lot since then, but it still feels like such an uphill climb. What advice do you have for somebody like me or others looking to start one? It doesn't have to be me. It could be somebody that's just thinking of starting a channel tomorrow. What advice do you have on how to stay centered on not getting discouraged?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I always think of this stuff. My mind kind of works in flow charts, like a lot of like if then, directional, like going in different directions. And I think some of that has to do with having worked in software. But the first question is like, why did I create the channel? What's my goal? What's my purpose? And I think you can sort of split that into two primary things. One is I'm really passionate about growth. Like, I really want to have a big channel. The second would be, I want to, I'm just doing it for fun. And I'd rather have 200, 300, 1,000, 2,000 people who really click and jive and connect with what I'm doing. And I don't care as much about growth as just like that closer, tight knit community that you get from that. And maybe getting to meet some of those people in person or interact with them on social media or whatever in the comments. That's like the starting foundational question. You know, if you're trying to grow, a lot of times it's then, am I trying to monetize, whether through YouTube monetization, which frankly doesn't make you nearly as much money as people might think, or through sponsorships and other things, you know, is that what I'm trying to do? Or am I just so passionate about the message that I have to deliver and whatever that might be, that I just want to get it out to as many people as possible? Or do I just enjoy the idea of maybe being a bit of a celebrity and being popular, you know, and having some notoriety or whatever? There can be a whole bunch of different motivations, right? So understanding your why around those topics. Once you know that, then the key is, I think, a lot of focus. And Charles, who's our lead our like director of video content, he's really, really good. I mean, he's good at what he does, but he's also good at thinking about how do we structure our content, and we've got it set up such that we're consistent, which is one of the biggest things he says and that Jeff talks about, is like, you have to be consistent on a schedule. People should know that on a Tuesday night and on a Thursday night and on a Sunday night, whatever your schedule is, you're going to drop a video. That doesn't mean you record them all at the same time. Sometimes you front load and you have to work around your schedule and everything. But I think it's been 2.5 years where we consistently have had a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday video on the Sports Card Investor channel without fail. And there were times when Jeff was sick, people were sick, we were all sick, this thing was going on, it's like, I don't feel like it. Oh, we had some emergency come up, but we still need to record the video. So Jeff's been at the office sometimes at like 10 o'clock at night recording a video just to get it in before he ships out for vacation, different types of things. Consistency is a huge thing. And you just have to know your own bandwidth with that. Like, what does it look like? Maybe it's once a week. That's usually the bare minimum for growth, for like sustainable growth that Charles would say is a minimum of once a week. And it's not always more is better either. The other thing is like YouTube, knowing the YouTube algorithm, they've really put an emphasis into their YouTube shorts now to compete with TikTok and to compete with Instagram. So if you're putting out little like condensed highlights of your videos, if you hit a big card, if you do whatever, and you push that out on like an off day, that can really help. And the other part of it is just like the production quality. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just having like some decent lighting and especially good sound. As much as I hate this, thumbnails are just a huge thing. They really are. You should see us. I mean, at the end of every video I have to do, it's like, what should the thumbnail be? Well, what's the title? Okay, it's the cards that are going up. So like, hold up these cards and we're going to crop it. And you're going to be like, it's just all these like ridiculous. I feel like such a tool. I mean, I feel so authenticity is a really big thing to me. And I hope that anybody who watches my videos sees that or interacts with me knows that I just like to be real and be authentic, and I care about people. And so I just feel like an idiot doing those things, but it is part of what works in terms of that psychology of videos. And the other thing is if you can find a way to do something unique, right? Something that somebody else isn't doing. And that can be any number of things. It's just getting creative with your content so that it's not just like the same canned tuna that, is easy. So
I appreciate the feedback there. I appreciate maybe not feedback because we haven't talked in depth about my channel, but all the tips. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we were saying before we went live, what is ERB? It's a variety channel. So it's just living by what the vision I started. I've just actually got to do it. And I got to make sure that each of those acronym letters are equally represented. And I think I'll take that from, and all the other points. Thumbnails, totally agree with that. I don't put enough effort into thumbnails. I could do a much better job of that. So
Dude, I need to go to tech school, boys. I need to learn how to do my thumbnails suck. I have no editing. I'm like, how did I get this many subscribers? But I think it's because of the consistency. That's the one thing I got going for me. Uh,
they
Pretty
subscribe
funny.
to Brett. I'm convinced they subscribe to Brett because he breaks for himself in volume
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of people love to see that a guy is investing his own money for himself, opening hundreds of boxes of cards.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's what I would say is the unique. I think there's two things. Brett, that you've got going is like, you've got a unique, that Chicago Midwest personality, you know, a lot of quips, you know, the hefty trash bags and just different funny lines and things like that. Right. So I think people, maybe I'm a Midwest guy, I connect with that. I don't know if you're from Chicago area originally, but, and then, yeah, it's almost like subscribing to a breaker account, except that you're more engaged with what you're doing as opposed to just getting through the packs and getting on to the next break, right? It's just, hey, look at this, is for me breaking down the math, and here's what I'm doing with this, and here's how I'm making this profitable, and you know, and a tale to tell future generations with the Platinum Wander, which is crazy.
Brett probably doesn't realize this, but some of his one-liners have resonated with the hobby. Like, any trout is a good trout.
Yeah.
If I hear it anywhere, I think Brett's the one that started it. Big Meat Pete. Somebody wrote that. I don't know if he actually had the
every time I hear you say that, I'm like, all right, I gotta go to confession again or something. I don't know. It's like, I don't know, but I do. My wife's just like, I'll carry my phone around and just be like, kind of listening while I'm doing things, you know, just like an addict to listening to stuff, and I'll hear that and she'll be like, what are you listening to?
I do try to keep it pretty clean, but that's one I let go sometimes. You know, I have kids from school who come in and watch, so it's, you know, it's got to be PG the best I can, and sometimes, you know, you say stupid stuff, but hopefully it's not over the top. But man, oh man, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And to do stuff like this, T-Pott, I can't wait to meet you at the National this year. I will. I'll be there.
Oh yeah, good, because
I'll be there for sure. I got my ticket right here. Actually, I printed it out.
I will be there again, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Brad, I don't know if you had another question, but I have one little small question for T-Pott. And I think you've probably answered this on your channel, but Andre Drummond, you have I would say a love affair with Andre Drummond cards. How did that ever start? Other than it being I guess you're from Detroit and he was on Detroit, but it's kind of carried through, right? Or you just like so committed to it that doesn't matter who he plays for now, just Andre Drummond.
No, yeah. So I'm I'm from Grand Rapids, which is on the west side of the state. But I'm from Michigan, Detroit sports fan, big time. And I got back into the hobby, and I was like, okay, I'm still obviously really drawn to 90s cards. That's kind of my nostalgia, bread and butter. But I wanted to start collecting modern cards too. And I wanted to start a PC of a modern player. Unfortunately, the Pistons, after being like somewhat of at least a dynasty from a competitive perspective in the 2000s, were not good at all in the 2010s. The one player on their team who was consistent and was good and he was an all-star was Drummond. He's one of the best rebounders of all time. He's a hustle player. He's a pretty fun-loving, playful guy. If you ever watch him in videos, interviews, anything like that, he's just kind of a silly guy. And I tend to be kind of like that too. Believe it or not, even though I'm like talking about data and numbers all the time, I'm kind of a cornball at heart. And it started out, I was just like, oh, I'm going to like pick up some of his cards, just buy some of his cards. Right. And it was right when I had first discovered ComC, check out my cards. And I was on that site and I'm like, I can buy like 27 of the 32 cards for this optic rainbow for like $51 total. And that was like with gold prism parallel, like gold parallels, you know, to 10. So I like scooped all these cards and I was like, I'm going to try to like complete a rainbow. Like this seems pretty fun and pretty cool. And once I got my first one of one, which I like chased down through like a Facebook lead, it just like broke the seal. And then I just like couldn't stop. And the next thing you know, you're just like sort of filling in and like, if you want a rainbow chase, which is like, I have very mixed emotions, honestly, about how many parallels are made today. It kind of drives me crazy. I like that Prism is all about parallels or optic. Like, I think it should be a certain number though, and not like this otherworldly number of parallels. But if you're going to rainbow chase, the best thing you want to make sure you do is start with the one of one. Like get the hardest one out of the way, you know, kind of like playing Monopoly or whatever. Like you better get the boardwalk.
Get boardwalk, yeah.
You know, get the hardest one and then back your way into it. You know, then you can usually fill in. But there's probably nothing more maddening than getting every other card and just never seeing the one of one. But I started doing it, and then I created the Instagram account to get plugged in with other people and just show off my collection. Drummond Card Collector, by the way, is my Instagram. All one word, Drummond Card Collector, no hyphens or underscores or anything. And next thing I knew, I had like 72 one-of-ones and multiple completed rainbows and the best Andre Drummond collection on the planet. I'm not a big patch auto guy. I don't chase a lot of the flawless and NT because to me, the premium is too high, even on a player like Drummond, and people want $300, $400, $500, $600 for these like cards. And I'm like, no, at that point, like you're getting into territory where I'd rather buy a really cool Giannis card or a really cool Kobe or a Jordan or something from the 90s. And I collect a lot of different sports. It's not just basketball. I really like baseball. I rip a lot more baseball than anything just because it tends to be more affordable. But that's sort of the story, is just wanted to collect a Pistons player. He was their most consistent, best player. He gave us a lot of really good years. And that's kind of how that grew. I have a whole other huge collection of cards that I'm going to start organizing again once my office is painted and done, ready to get set up.
That's definitely a great story as far as how you ended up on Andre Drummond. You stuck it all the way through. And I think the other points you raised along the way there about too many parallels, we'll circle back to that in a bit. I got a question about 2023 wax and just in general. But you mentioned about the whether you buy a card like a $400 Drummond card or switch over to a different player. I think that's really smart, is that you don't know where the upper limit on an individual is. Like, yes, this is cool, it's great, but this is not where the $400 should go. That maybe should go in some other pile here. But the onesie twosie dollar cards or something like that, or completing a simple rainbow, is where that's best spent on a certain player, because that has fulfillment and isn't near as much risk. 2023 wax and just wax in general, where do you think the hobby is headed? And I know it probably frustrates you, and it frustrates Jeff, and it frustrates everybody, myself and Brett included. I cannot wait for Topps/Fanatics to take over for Topps Chrome basketball. Yeah. Although they can't screw it up. Topps Chrome baseball wasn't great this year. An update wasn't much better, but at least they publish odds on the box, and they modestly changed the print runs where at least you can detect what's going on.
Yeah.
So very curious, what are your thoughts on where wax has been the last couple of years and where it's headed?
Wax prices just have gotten out of control, and they've come down. I mean, you guys both noticed they've come down. A lot of products have come down and become more affordable. The value proposition in days of past, if you were just going to open a box, not open in volume and build sets and do all this, stuff that Brett breaks down and whatever, but like just, I want to open a hobby box. You went in knowing you weren't probably going to make your money back, but there's sort of the enjoyment and the experience of opening and saying like, I got this card, and you never know. It's that you never know thing. it's a little bit of gambling, but we all enjoy it, and it's fun and it's nostalgic, and it's especially what gets a lot of kids involved is just the thrill of the chase and opening packs, right? But it just got so expensive that it's like, it's one thing to say, I'm going to open a $120 hobby box and know I'm only going to get $45 of value out of it, maybe, or whatever, you know. It's another thing to go, I'm going to open a $1,200 or a $2,200 box of Prism and get $150 out of it. Like, it just, the numbers got totally out of whack. And I think there's a lot to that. I think I'm not anti-breaking. I'm not, but I do think breaking contributes to those prices and the inflation of wax. And that can be frustrating. Here's what I'll say. Prices have started to come down, unsurprisingly, with the prices of cards, singles overall. So those two things are intimately linked. This year, and there was a question from Mark Rutsika that said that, you know, there was a rookie disaster in all 4 major sports. He said in 2023, I don't think I would agree with that at all. I think 2023 is going to be a really big draft class with Bryce Young and Victor Wembanyama and some other strong players. But this last year, you didn't have any good quarterbacks, and you know, the Paulo Banchero seems really good. Chet Holmgren's been hurt. You know, it's just the other guys aren't doing too much of anything. I think that contributes to wax prices for sure on a year-to-year basis. Everything that Fanatics has said up until now, publicly, in interviews and in conversations with Jeff and myself, in meetings and different conversations we've had with them, seems to be really encouraging. Now, they're a business. They paid big boy dollars for these licenses and to get this secured, but they're really serious about growth in the hobby. I think they're going to ruffle a lot of feathers along the way. I think there's an old guard and there's a really old guard in the hobby. And I think there's just going to be like a lot of change, a lot of innovation, a lot of disruption to how they might do things. But I'm so excited because they've said they want to like be more intentional about the identity of products. They're not going to keep everything. Like, I'm just going to throw a product out there, and this is just me speculating. This isn't anything I've been told, but a product like Topps Fire, which is kind of a fun product. Is that going to stay? Is it going to go? Is it going to stay, but then be oriented more as like a young person collector product? Like they're trying to create more story, more identity, more content around cards and the products. They've told us, you know, things like they think when a product releases that you should be able to go and instantly view high-res images of every card on the checklist. Like, why would you not do that? That's the print. You have the images. So like, tease it, show people what it looks like if you're going to pull a gold chrome Luca or whatever that the card might be. Right. So, yeah, I think they've got a lot of the right ideas, and they're going to be really serious about promoting it. They're going to be plugging cards at sporting events and on television and all over the place. And I think it's going to be really cool. I think it's going to drive a lot more people into it. And then maybe they stumble across our collective content and say like, wow, you know, this isn't just for kids. It's something that's just a lot of fun for sports enthusiasts to kind of feel another level of connection to the player, to the sport, to the team, to their own childhood if they collected. So I think the other big thing is just quality control. Obviously, I do think that what I would love to see is more visibility and transparency, and like a walkthrough of how their process is. How is a card made? How do they do these things? You know, both from the perspective of just understanding why it can be difficult for them to, you know, be really consistent with the products, and also just like some of the challenges where you get box that misses a hit, or like a box that has 3 hits and it's like, whoa, a super box, but then you know that meant somebody else didn't get it. So yeah. By the way, I see the super chat from Stryker. I think that looks like, if that is, I love his channel too. So he's a Detroit sports fan. So I always enjoy watching him ripping breaks. He's one of my favorite guys to watch too.
Yeah, he's awesome. Thank you so much, Stryker.
I loved his mustache the other day.
He did a great video today. I love the way his video ends today.
Like Yosemite Sam look. Thought that was fantastic.
You know, kind of go along with what you're talking about. One of the reasons I've stayed away from Panini products for the most part is, Well, quality control is part of it, but the other part is, at least on tops, I can go get a blaster box or a hanger box or a hobby box, and I can find the odds, and I can ask a
Yes.
guy like John, "Hey, how many of these do they make?" You know, or and you get an idea of the pull rate, and with Panini, it's like it's some products are awesome with pull rates. Then you turn around and you have
Yeah.
other ones like 19 Chronicles. Filmington did a video today, and there's no hits in retail of that product. That's so frustrating. So you've had some
We have some
conversation with those.
plans. I'm going to tease something here, and I'm going to tease this out there. It's something my team and I have been talking about, the broader team at SCI, but we're really enthusiastic about it, but we're trying to be intentional about it and do it and get it done right. But better product reviews, previews, coverage, images, voting, ranking, just 1 Cent Collectibles. I think 1 Cent Breaks. I can't remember what his channel is, but he does some really, really great for baseball. Does some really great product reviews. So does Stryker. He does a great job breaking down the cost per card and which box offering is going to be your best bet. A lot of times it is hangers or bangers, man. You just, it's something about the hangers. They just give you that single cellophane pack and just load it up for you. But that type of thing where you can go, okay, what type of product is this? Who's the target audience? What can I expect to really get out of it? Am I going to get crushed? But I am a pack odds junkie. There is something about knowing that you hit it. It's psychologically, like, it could be harder in a Panini product to hit a card numbered out of 50, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's say hitting a card, a parallel out of 50 in Prism is, 1 in 679 packs or something, right? But I would still feel better about knowing I hit a 1 in 420 packs tops card than not knowing what the odds are of the number to 50 Prism card I hit. Like, there's just a different psychology, and maybe it's me going back to the 90s, but like, you hit something, you go, what is this? And you go, oh, that's actually pretty hard to hit. Especially inserts. Like, the inserts have just been lost in the shuffle in the hobby in the Panini era. People do not care about inserts by and large. Some people do, but most of the time they don't. With Panini inserts, you have no idea how hard they are to hit unless they put on the checklist case hit. And then even then you're like, is this really case hit? Because there's like 230 graded by PSA,
Yeah.
Like an update, there's the Topps Black Gold, and the blues aren't numbered. And I would love to know the print run on those because they're freaking hard to pull. And then, like, a couple of people have pulled the golds out of 75, and
I loved those this year. I was trying to buy a blue Mookie Betts, and I missed out on it by the bid increment a few months ago.
I believe those blues are highly undervalued just by pure hit rate of pulling them. I think I've pulled one in all that I've opened.
Yeah.
And dude, they're brutal pulls.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next thing. The man, the myth, the legend, the boss. What's it like working for the man, Jeff Wilson? Give us the dirt.
Jeff, I love working where I work. I mean, I came from a big, I worked at a privately held company, but it was a big company and a multinational company. And I loved my time there too, to be honest. I had made so many great friends and had a lot of great managers. Working in a smaller startup environment definitely feels more like home for me. And you just get to do a lot of things and have a lot more ownership and a lot less bureaucracy and a lot more ability to act. And Jeff, I always tell people there's different versions of Jeff. The only version most people know is the one they see on videos. So the funny thing is, if you go back to our earliest videos on YouTube, his earliest videos, and watch him, it starts out, he's in his closet in his basement, which you can't tell in the video, but he's literally in a closet. Okay. It's a big closet, but it's a closet. And he set up like some kind of IKEA type bookshelf behind him with some, memorabilia and boxes and stuff. And he's just like, hello, my name is Jeff Wilson, and I want to go on this journey to invest in sports cards. And he's all like calm and like a little suave and a little like just, he seems a little nerdy and just like a little like, yeah, let's get into some numbers. And he was building all of his own charts manually with data points that he was spending time, and he was just having fun with it. And he got back into it because of his son. And as the channel starts to grow and whatever, I think he gets some feedback, right, from some people. And they're like, look, you need to be more energy, higher energy. You need, you know, and he went to school for like broadcast journalism at Florida. So he's, you know, it's like, bring your personality more. Go watch Logan Paul and Mr. Beast and these other guys. And they're not like, hey, what's going on? You know, this is like the problem for me. They're always like more intensity, you know, more, and the hello thing started, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong with this. I think the hello thing started when like the first product was released with Zion Williamson in it or something. And he's just like, hello, it's Zion Mania, you know, whatever. And then it just stuck. And they were like, you just got to keep doing that. And, you know, 25% of people just absolutely hate it. And a lot of people love it. And everybody else is just kind of like, yeah, it is what it is. It's the sports card investor thing. So that's his on-screen persona, right? And he can turn it on and off. But it's not inauthentic. It's just him trying to have a little bit more energy to make a compelling high energy video, right? Then there's the Jeff you meet in person, just at a show or run into him. And he, much to the dismay of people on our team who are trying to keep him on a tight schedule for different purposes, especially at the National, will not say no to somebody like just saying, hey, I just want to say hi. Hey, I want to make a trade with you. Hey, I want to, you know, take a picture or just tell you a story or whatever. And it's awesome. He likes it. All of us like it, but just interacting with people and saying like, this is the hobby community. We really enjoy it. You know, there's everything else from life is kind of on hold over here. And we're just kind of trying to find some recreation here and have fun. So that's a more down to earth Jeff. Then there's the Jeff who is the entrepreneur, the businessman. And he's really has really strong business acumen and really strong instincts. And he's extremely grounded, neutral. We have had some big challenges, some things happen, some things happen that, you know, just like any business where you're just like, how are we going to work through this? Like, oh, this big thing happened, right? With market movers and other things. And he just doesn't get worked up. If you're working in a small environment, some entrepreneurs, the more type A, high intensity people could be like, that can be your nightmare scenario that can make you want to go like, I don't know if I want to keep working here. You know, things get messy and hit the fan and some people just lose it. He does not lose it. He just does not lose it. I don't know if he's always been like that, but I've told him, I'm like, that is one of the things I appreciate the most about you, Jeff, is you just keep it together, stay calm. He's been through it before. He knows we'll get through it again. So that's really encouraging. And he's very understanding and, like I said, not reactive and good at talking through difficult things and being reasonable. He's just like eminently reasonable. And then there's the Jeff with his family, which is like probably the real Jeff. Like above all else, the Jeff with his family is the real Jeff. He loves his kids. He loves his wife. He loves his sister and his family. And that's when I feel like I see a different Jeff than when because he's a lot more playful with his kids and a lot more like really enthusiastic. I think you kind of see a little different twinkle in his eye when he interacts in that way. And that's true for a lot of us. So as I'm listening to my 4 kids who are supposed to be in bed, just ripping around above my head right now. So I go up there and, come on.
I tell you what, I'm the biggest fan of Jeff. I think he just gets, me and John were talking, I think he gets a lot of hate because he's successful and he's the face. I'm in the disc golf world. We were talking just before we came on too, and the disc golf world is even smaller of a hobby than the sports cards.
Oh yeah.
And like the new guy on the block and the successful guy on the block. There's the guy down in Peoria, Illinois that I know really well. I won't name him, but he's so good, and he's taken events to the next level. Stuff that hadn't been done since the existence of disc golf, and all of a sudden, there's people hate him like crazy, and it's like I love the dude because he's doing things nobody is able to do, and that's what I respect out of Jeff the most. Is
Yeah.
I mean, dude, 220,000 subscribers. Started May 19th or May of 2019. The channel's booming. The product's awesome. I've used both the app and the market movers on the computer. It's great products. I really respect what you guys do and love it. I'm one of the biggest supporters. I'm very tolerant too. As a teacher, you get all types of personalities. You better have some tolerance there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the positive feedback, and I'm sure Jeff would too. The hobby is no different. I don't know if you know Sports Cards Live. Jeremy Lee does, live streams weekly, and I've been on there a few times, and he had myself and Jeff and two other members of our team on there recently. It's kind of like a roundtable type conversation. And I just said, look, one thing I learned in 2022 is the hobby is the world, meaning it is everybody from the world in the hobby. There's all types of different people, for good and for bad. And there are people who just love sensationalism and drama and rash accusations and scandal and all kinds of things, who don't know left from right, don't have their facts straight, latch onto a piece of hefty trash and like turn it into something that's completely unfounded. And then they grow a huge channel and following over it by basically like at the expense of other people. And it's really disappointing, and it's really, it's frustrating, but the reward is that like the vast majority of the interactions that we have is very, very, very positive. And we're going to keep on doing what we're doing. We're very clear on our mission. We want to entertain, we want to educate, we want to create community. And that's our goal. And so we're continuing to work on those things. And we have all the biggest plans in the world for market movers, as well as some enhancements to the Sports Card Investor app. You can't ever get things done fast enough when you're writing code and trying to get to the next big objective. So there's things we're just now getting to that we've had literally in our sprint backlog since I started with the company 2.5 years ago, because it's always a working priority list of what can you get to next. And some things are more foundational to getting to the next springboard, but we see the need for a lot of different things. And the goal really with market movers is to get it to the point where it is not just it's not just an app for somebody with like a higher dollar collection or who's like trying to speculate on cards and invest and flip and do all of that, but is more of a holistic collector, investor, speculator, whatever your take is and cut in the hobby, you're still going to want to use the product. And I really am excited about when we get to that point, because I think it's going to change a lot of how things are being done in the hobby, as far as how people keep track of their collections and show them off to their friends and interact and do a lot of other things. So really excited about that. And I definitely appreciate the kind words.
Yeah.
Anything else, John?
I don't think I have too many more questions. I know we're almost at an hour here. There are a couple of topics that I've seen people mention in the comments. We can't touch everything tonight. There's not enough time in the day, and you've got 4 kids, and we want to make sure we respect your time. We cannot thank you enough for joining us. I think the only other question I have for you, maybe a 2-part question. One, how do we get Jeff on a show like this? not like we're not using Jeff. I just like the conversation. There could be 0 people watching. I just love the conversation. I just love the camaraderie. And then the second part of that question, before you answer the first one, when we get to the National this year, what could we do that's fun together?
Ooh, those are good questions. I mean, I always say with Jeff, just ask. I can ask her if there's a time or something like that. His schedule's insane. I mean, I feel like he's going more than he's coming. Like I said, we've got a lot of travel coming up, and he's gone more than I am a lot of times. So it's just usually a scheduling question. Honestly, he's usually more than willing to engage and jump on live streams or do that type of thing. So I can run it by him. And then as far as the national, the schedule is a lot of times my schedule is given to me because I'm there on work. The company pays for me to go there, and which is an awesome privilege, but we're there to work. And so we're going to have a huge booth this year. I mean, for anybody who saw ours this year, it's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be 3 or 4 times bigger than what we had this year. And so it'll be a really nice setup. There's going to be an awesome trade zone for kids. One of the things that happened last year, not to go down too much of a rabbit hole, but there's trade nights all over the place every night at the National, hotels and casinos that, all over the place. Right. There was a guy, an older gentleman who was trying to scam kids at a trade night. And one of the kids he tried to scam was Reeves, Jeff's son. And thankfully Reeves is not easily fooled. And he basically called his dad and said, there's this guy here and he's trying to tell us these cards are worth all this money. And can you come over here and just scope it out? And the long and short was Jeff ended up calling the guy on the carpet and kind of ran him out of the hotel. It was you're not scamming kids here, man. The guy was a total con artist. And then as we started talking to some other people, we found out that he had been kicked out of a show out in California, the same exact guy. And it was this big thing. So Jeff, during the show, we wanted to have a sort of a safe space to let kids specifically come. And we're going to have employees. We're doing this at Culture Collision in Atlanta too at the end of the month, where we'll have staff from our team there with our apps, with eBay data, with other things to help comp out cards and make sure that both people can feel like they're making a good trade, and not being duped or having a fast one pulled on them or anything like that. So we're really excited about that. That's just kind of to talk about how we're going to be set up at the show. But I'm going to be at the trade night. Well, I'm sure at least one trade night. Hopefully we get kind of an off night to go out and just cut loose and do whatever we want to. Cause I just feel there's always a lot of people I'd like to, go have a drink with and maybe make a trade with, or just chat and get to know better. So it'd be great to see you guys in that capacity too. But, I'm sure hopefully you'll both stop by the booth and loiter for a while too. That's my excuse to actually get to talk to people if they come and visit the booth. Cause then I can be I'm just trying to get them signed up for Market Movers,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do definitely look forward to that one. Yeah. I actually forgot. There's one comment I will, not to self-promote. You could answer the question honestly. Brandon asked earlier, who's your favorite competitive eater?
I just saw that comment. I'll be honest. I'm not highly knowledgeable on the competitive eating game. I might just have to say, John, I'm gonna have to come see you and handle some ribs sometime or something, man.
Yeah.
But this is a thing that is I don't know how they do it. I have a hard time swallowing pills, let alone just pulling the food in these, like you guys can do. So it's a unique game. I like to savor my food, just okay.
We'll wrap up here in a couple seconds, but because we know you probably got to go. But yeah, people always ask me, do you taste the food? And no matter how fast I eat it, yes, I always taste the food. So if the food is not good, I still know whether I'm eating it fast or slow. It does not matter. I still taste the food.
That's got to be the worst if it doesn't taste good. Yeah.
There's been plenty of times where I've done a contest or a challenge and it has tasted absolutely terrible. And I'm I don't have any choice right now. I have to eat this.
Well, we talked about there was that show on Fox, back in the 90s where that was competitive eating, and they brought out these vats of mayonnaise. And I was just it just still haunts me. I'm oh God.
Yeah. I that's one challenge I don't know that I'd ever do.
Yeah.
I would stick to things that taste somewhat good.
Yeah.
But that would be kind of a disgusting challenge. But yeah, like a jar of pickles, or like a gallon of pickles juice or something. People might be grossed out by that. I could probably do that. So yes.
That
Well,
sounds
it's a
so
good
bad.
conversation, guys. I'm happy to be on, and I'd be happy to come back on anytime and just chat, just shoot the crap sometimes too. Like I said, I enjoy the content, enjoy the conversation. If not, you'll see me in the chat from time to time too, whenever I'm free.
Appreciate the support. Thanks so much, and
really appreciate
I'll
it.
definitely be coming by the booth this summer to see you. I'll be there most
Good deal.
days, I believe. So
Good deal.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, we can end the live stream here. Brett, you are the one that takes us out with your famous line, so go ahead and take us out.
Thanks everybody out there for all the comments. We've been reading them. Thanks for all the support. Until next time, peace.
Take care, everybody.